women can actually propel the growth of the women?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we're socialized not to. Okay, so this is one of the problems. Yes, if women stick together and helped each other, we would be in a much better place. We are socialized to be beautiful, to compete for men, all across the world, not just here. The world is socialized for us to make ourselves beautiful so that we can get the good men, the rich men, right? We're set up to compete with each other at young ages, on our appearance, on our everything. The type of bag we carry, the prestige that we bring. That's how we're set up. That's a competition between women. And so therefore, with that competition, as we become adults, we do not help each other. We have women in the family who try to hold each other down.
Yeah.
Within our own families, within our own friend groups sometimes even.
Yeah.
We try to hold each other down. See, men don't do that. They're not socialized to do that.
Hello, and we are back with yet another episode and very, very eclectic mix of one guest, two guests, no, three guests this time. Welcome to Unbound, and again, I have the privilege, a total honor of hosting three extraordinary humans. Beginning with you, Courtney, you've been on the show. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Such
Hi.
a pleasure to be here again.
And look at that. I mean, coming all the way from crossing the seven seas and the continents, we have Dr. Joanne and Emily. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. We're
Welcome
happy to be here.
Unbound.
Yes,
and
thank
let us just dive straight in. What brings you here, Joanne?
What brings me to India
Yeah.
is Courtney. I am a professor, and I bring students every year to India because I feel that this is a very amazing place to have spiritual experiences. And so I bring my students who are all training to be therapists, psychotherapists here, and I want them to understand this way of being, this way of feeling. And so I bring as many students as I can every year to visit. And the way that I found India was through Courtney and meeting with her and One Life to Love and her beautiful children. So we kind of home base in her organization and her home sometimes. We even stay there. And then we kind of venture out from there for spiritual quests throughout India.
Oh, how beautiful is that? And Emily, is this your first visit to India?
No, it's not. Actually,
Okay.
I came last year on the same trip, and she let students go twice. So the second that I got here last year, I walked out of the airport and I knew I was coming back. It
Oh,
was
wow.
Like, I can't explain. I just knew I was gonna come back again. And
Yeah.
I feel so present. I feel so like I'm meant to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Courtney, we've had some great response on your show, the one that we did with you and Yogesh, Samarpan Trust, One Life to Love. How does this association work for you specifically?
Yes, so I'll just go right into it. So I met Joanne about, I think, 10 years, almost 10 years ago now. It was at a point when we were struggling like to financially fund the orphanage and the programs that we were running. And I was at a point that I was like, where do we go from here? Who's going to help us? And I was visiting back home to try and, find some funders or people that might be able to help us. And a mutual
This is back
friend,
in US.
This is back in US, yeah. A friend who was a mutual friend, I was just reached out to her randomly. I mean, she wasn't even a friend at that time. She was just like an acquaintance. And I was like, I'm kind of in a helpless situation. And she was like, you have to meet Dr. Joanne Jodry. And so I was like, okay. Showed up to some cafe in New Jersey and with our friend, and in walks Dr. Jodry, Joanne. And at that point, Joanne was in remission, I think, from breast cancer. You still had like your medicine and everything you were taking. And I showed her pictures of my children. I shared my story, what we're doing. And she was like, okay, I'm going to help you.
Wow.
And she developed this course to bring students to India, not only bring them to India, but they fundraise for us,
Wow.
throughout the duration of the course. They're fundraising, they're supporting One Life to Love, they're spreading the message. And then at the culmination of the course, they come to India, they volunteer with us, they connect with the children, and then they explore India and have amazing experiences here.
Wow. So I'll move the buck to you, Dr. Joanne. Joanne. Where does the beginning of your work really lie? And what had really inspired you to take up and do what you're doing today?
So, if we go to the beginning, this is a second career for me. I was in retail, and I was a senior executive in retail, and I switched into being a therapist in my mid-30s. And so the meaning of my life was not enough in corporate world.
Totally.
So I switched over, and I was looking for more and more meaning. And then I had a child at a later age, and then I got breast cancer. And when I got breast cancer, I was knocked to my feet. It was really like, and it was a pretty severe case. Hence the, hair. And right at that time, we had a mutual friend. And the friend said to me, I need you to meet somebody. You're going to be amazed by her. And I said, I just don't have it in me. To be honest, I'm not there. I wasn't working. I had taken off of work while I was in treatment. And she's like, no, you have to meet her. And I said, okay, 1 hour. She said, I'll buy you lunch too. And I said, okay, 1 hour. And I went and met Courtney. And 3 hours later, while we were sitting there, and I saw a glow about her, and I felt just this connection with her.
Yeah.
And after she talked to me about her work, and she's from my area where I live, and it's so foreign and brave to not speak the language, it's not a sacrifice to her, but it's a sacrifice of convenience. You're sacrificing a convenient life, an easier life, physically, and to do that felt so brave to me. And I was in a struggle with the cancer that I needed bravery.
Yeah. So in a way, you both resurrected yourself. Like both of you, each of you played that part in each other's journey.
She became my bravery.
Oh, beautiful. Than this.
And so in that 3 hour conversation and lunch, I told her, I'm going to help you, but I don't know how I'm going to help you, but I am going to help you. And I'm a person, when I say it, I mean it. Like, I don't tell people that if I don't mean it. So then I set forth to figure out how to help her. And I went back to my university, and I said to them, hey, I can't take a bunch of students to India, can I? And they said, yes, you can.
Oh, wow.
And I said,
this was just your idea one fine day.
Yeah.
Let me do this.
Well, it was after meeting her. It was the next day. I called the university for our study abroad, global ed kind of, and I said, would I be able to do it? And then I wanted to add the fundraising piece in, which I thought might be hard, but they said it's fine. Because they're graduate students, it's a volunteer class. Yeah. And so each of the students has to use their own skill. They can't do like GoFundMe or social media. They have to use skill that they have to raise money for Courtney and the children. So they have to get in touch with their own abilities in order to raise the money. And so each of the students have raised a significant amount of money for One Life to Love as part of the class. So
like how would they? So for example, if I'm a student and I'm good at writing maybe, or then I would just do something around that. And
so I had one student who baked cookies. And she baked cookies. It got so good that she turned it into an actual business.
Oh, wow.
That she calls cookie therapy.
Oh.
Right?
So
right?
Cool,
and
right?
because she got so good at doing it. So you have to get in touch with, the idea of self-actualization, karma, dharma, all of it is to be full. So even though we go in for one career, we can't let go of all of our other talents. And that's what I want them to get. They can draw. They can make music. They could do workshops for people who are in need. They can do anything that is using themselves. So that's how we structured the class. And this is our sixth trip that we've come on.
Oh, wow.
And so we'll have many more. And the class is popular, of course. But the things that they come over and they get, with meeting the children. Yeah. And Courtney's so inspirational. She's so
Totally,
inspirational,
totally.
right? And so I always hope that my students can feel what I felt, for the bravery.
Yeah.
Because we all need to be brave about something.
Yes.
We all have fears. And Courtney kind of embodies that, the facing the fears and doing it anyway, going above. I can't imagine walking away from my comfort of my family, the comfort of United States, the comfort of money, and going in. That to me is so brave, and that's one of the reasons I want my students to meet her. And the children are so happy.
Yeah.
She loves them so much. The first time I came here, I had this grand plan. I work in psychology, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to help her with the kids.
Yeah.
I was here about an hour, and I threw it all in the garbage because she does it better.
Yeah.
She loves them. And that's what helps them.
Yeah.
We can do
Absolutely.
psychology all
Yes.
we want,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, she loves them.
Yeah. So
And that's the heal.
As I hear is that we could be as academic about our approach, but if we don't live what
Exactly.
we are teaching or what we want to be taught, if we don't really embody it ourselves, then it's only the half work done. Very beautiful. In fact, what also stands out here for me specifically is how you are placing these children in touch with their spirituality,
Exactly.
by making them do what they are best at. And that's like spirituality in motion.
Exactly. One of the things that we do as we get older, when we're little, we make art drawings and cards, and along the way we're told we're not good at it, or we're not good enough to make a living at it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we should give these things up. We should still be exploring that parts of our brain and that parts of our creativity. So part of the class is designed to make the students go back to the things they gave up. So if you used to play piano, maybe you're going to go and play piano for money to raise for Courtney, or to not give up the parts. We get very focused as we get older on career, and then everything becomes career. But we lose parts. So I want them to regain the parts. That's the spiritual parts. The creative parts are our spiritual parts, doing all of it.
And is this some part of your being a spiritualist, a Buddhist, a practitioner? Are you putting that in action in a way?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. So Buddhism is a way of life, right? I think it's hard to, it's not possible for me to separate as a professor or, and be congruent with myself if I'm not living and teaching the things that will allow, I hope, that's my wish. I don't know if it always works, but I hope that it allows students to, find more of themselves and to be more with inner peace and internal.
Yeah. So when you told me about Joanne, and when you told me that how inspired she was looking at your work, did that actually give you an idea to design a course at a university? Yes,
that's what happened. So I did have a friend who, I think he's at University of California now. He had done a trip, and I had seen it and spoken with him, a trip to Nepal, where he had visited a village, and he brings shoes, and he, with students. So I used his model of what he did, and I took that model and I went to my university to see if we could also do it. So he did fundraising with his students as well, and that was the part that I needed to happen. I really feel like it's all meant to be. I think the fundraising, I've had students tell me that was perhaps one of the most transformational parts.
Wow.
They didn't know they could make money like that. They didn't know they could create, funds for people and themselves, even if they ever need to. They have to be able to have that self-efficacy to be able to feel like, I can make money.
Yeah.
Anyway, if I can't do my career, I can still make money. I think there's something really wonderful about that for students to be able to realize that as well. And that's so I had modeled it off of another professor who I had seen do it in Nepal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so like you, of course, mentioned that a career in retail was not enough. And that's when the cancer happens. And how was your struggle through that? Like, were you already initiated onto your spiritual journey? How did you deal with that trauma of your life?
So what actually happened was an ectopic pregnancy.
How?
And that's when I changed careers.
Oh, okay.
Because I was very, very sick. It was a bad experience. And when that happened, I thought I was going to die. Because I was being rushed into surgery. I'm running down, the hallway with it. I was being rushed into surgery. And I thought to myself in that moment, okay, what did I do with my life? And then I said, nothing. to myself.
Because your life actually flashes through, right?
It did, yes.
If you're that close, like a near-death experience.
Yes. And I said, I did nothing. I sold clothes to people at high prices. And that's what I did with my life, because I did a lot of different things. It was with a major retail company, probably the biggest one. And I was a buyer for them. I ran stores for them. I did different things for them. And I thought to myself, the meaning, because that was the bulk of my time that I spent was working. And I said, the meaning of my life is that I sold things to people at inflated costs. And that felt terrible. So after I lived,
that's like your soul asking you, like, you really, oh my God.
Yeah. So then when I lived, I was like, I can't do that anymore. I've got to do something. And then I decided to go back to university and get a master's degree in psychology. And then I went on to get.
And this is at what age, if I may ask?
I think it was 36 years old.
So you kind of turned around the whole trajectory of your life.
And I
from
took
there.
I don't know what, but about a 600% pay cut to do it. So
going back to being a student, basically.
Yes, I went back to being a student, and I was
yeah.
I was a senior executive in this.
Wow.
So it was a
crash down.
Yeah. And I also got divorced as well. And so I became a single psychotherapist. So I went back and got a master's degree, and then I went and got a doctorate it's called Doctor of Medical Humanities. And it's a doctorate in basically all things that heal that aren't medicine. So alternative medicines, but also I focused on religions, world religions. So that's when I became a Buddhist. In that doctoral program.
Wow.
And then I went and got another doctorate when I became teacher of psychotherapists.
So this is indeed a second life.
It is. And so I met Courtney when I was 40. Oh, my daughter was 10. So
at the time.
I don't know.
Let's not do the calculations. It's okay.
So my daughter was 10.
Somewhere in the 40s.
So I was about 50.
You look like a smashing 25 to
Thank
me. So
you.
don't you worry.
Well, that's the camera I'm hoping is going to do that. But she, I think I met her when I was like 52, around 52. So that's when I met her. So I had already established I was a psychotherapist. I was a professor at that point.
Yeah.
And I had established that, and that's when I got cancer. And I met Courtney.
So this is like life trying and testing you and putting you through whatever. But each time you are coming out as turning a new leaf.
Exactly.
Yes.
What keeps you going?
Oh, my daughter is my life. She is my sunshine. But Dharma, I've got a lot to do here. I've got a lot to do. And, I kid you not, she thanks me a lot. And there's nothing to thank. She inspires me to my own Dharma. And so she, I've got things I've got to do here. That's what keeps me going. I've got life to...
So each time you're down and out, what is that one thing you ask or tell yourself?
Who needs my help? That's what I ask myself. Who needs my help? And then I go do that. Who needs my help today? That's what keeps me going.
That's when you're down and out.
Yes. That's what I do, and that keeps me going. I'll call her. Or also, it's the simple things. It's, you go to a restaurant and you're kind to the server.
Yeah.
That can make a difference to people. It's those simple things that you live. I have a job, a big job of being a professor and a therapist. They're both they can be power jobs if you want them to be. But I don't want them to be. To me, the waitress is as important as the president.
Yeah, because everybody is playing their part.
Everyone's playing their part.
And the world will not be complete without any one single of them.
Correct.
Yeah, so
correct.
beautiful.
And they deserve the same respect.
Totally.
And so to me that can, and often people don't feel respected. So showing them that respect, I think is very powerful. So when I'm down,
yeah,
I or I get overwhelmed
Yeah.
by doing so much because
Yeah.
we try to, I just think like who needs me?
Yeah. Because as a woman, as a provider, as someone who's in that power and authority, or at least looked up at a social level, there's a lot. And you're always second guessing yourself that have I done enough? Do I need to go more? Is this the best of me? What is more to come? And when you are like really drowning in your own worries and concerns and everything, to just give yourself that push is not easy. I think as women, half of our battle is that how do we juggle? How do we manage? Should I do this first? Should I do that first? And what you are doing here is completely, turning the canvas around and saying that, oh, let me draw from the backside now.
Well, yeah.
So is this it's like a breaking of a mental pattern that you are bringing in, right, in a way? So what has really led to this in your life?
So I think it's whether you decide to lead with spirituality or lead with ego, right? So our ego, our reality, our need for comfort, or desire for comfort, are people caring about what people think of me versus caring about how I can serve. It's where you put your focus, right? And so you have to decide. And most people, especially in the West, their focus is on themselves.
Yeah.
That is right.
Yeah.
And so for me, that doesn't feel like a good karma for me.
Yeah, because you've been to that point, right, of self-realization. And
I have, and I also many times actually, because I want to chronically remember. So I remember every day that it's important for to serve. Do I get caught up in my ego?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I
Yeah,
do. But
yeah.
that's what pulls me back. Is like, well, what am I really doing here? Like, what really matters here? Like, really matters what I serve, not who hurt my feelings or who likes me or doesn't like me. That doesn't matter. What matters is what I do with my life. And so keeping that focus is that pulls me out of anything overwhelming or down. I don't, a lot of times in the West, there's a lot of nationalism going on right now, right?
Totally.
And people will say, why India? Why are you helping children in India?
Yeah.
And I always say, that's who God put in front of me,
Like I said,
I just
yeah.
go,
Yeah.
I go where I'm put,
Yes.
I'm following the path.
Yeah.
And I said, and if you put people in front of me, I'll help
Yeah.
you too. I also
That's
help
what
people
appeared, so that's what
Yes.
you're going to manage.
yeah, because
totally.
it was meant to be that way.
Yeah.
Because and the same in the United States, like if someone
Yeah.
is put in front of me there, I do the same,
Yeah.
right? But this is what's put in front of me, and I always say to them, and now I've put it in front of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now you need
You
to help
need
too.
to
So now I'm
Yeah.
putting it there. So now so I you're into or not.
Yeah.
It's your choice now to what you
Yeah.
want to do. Yeah.
Moving the conversation to you, Emily. You are the most interesting one in the room. Do you know that? The youngest one with I would say no imprints so far, and still getting to go, headed out to start your life. Give us a little brief about yourself, your family, and what brings you or inspires you to be in this work.
Sure. Yeah. So I am from New Jersey in the USA as well. I grew up with my family, wonderful, loving. I always kind of had my own, anxiety, my own mental health things. And, I spent a lot of my life keeping it very much in. And, then I got to college when I was like 18, 19, 20. And then some things happened that led me to have to go to therapy. I would tell you all, maybe I don't want to say it on camera too, but some traumatic things happened. And I had to go to therapy. And, in that time I had been, so I guess going back to it was maybe also like my own anxieties and depression felt like they very much came from like a world I didn't understand.
Okay.
I could see things happening, but I could, in terms of things like women and men different race, you know, like racism, sexism, all these homophobia, these things happening. I didn't always have the words to put to it, you know. And then I got to college. I studied English literature, but I really got a very good education in all the things that now, unfortunately, they want to ban in the U.S., like things like feminism, critical race theory, explanations of the world, you know, and sociology. And, you know, that was very empowering to me at the time. And then these things happened, and then I went to therapy, and I spent some time with myself, working on myself with an amazing therapist. And it was maybe about a year of seeing her, and I kind of just felt this calling of like, this is, you need, you know, maybe you're not perfect yet, but you need to go and do this for somebody else.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't, you know, at the time I was like, well, I'm almost done with this degree in literature, you know, I don't really know how I would even go about doing that. But I kind of always felt it underneath, and I kind of kept, you know, I kept it down for a couple of more years while I continued to, you know, work through my own stuff, and wasn't really sure how I could do it, you know. In the U.S. sometimes with school, there's a lot of hurdles to jump through, right, to get certain, you know. It wasn't just easy as being like, oh, I'm going to be a psychologist now, you know, because there's, you know, to take all these other classes, a whole other, you know. But I just kind of felt like I kept following that, and I always had that. And then I graduated, and then I started to work for a nonprofit, and it still felt like that was there. Like, it wasn't going away. It wasn't going away. Right? Of like that I need to, you know, maybe, like I said, I'm not perfect yet, but there's something there for me. I need to figure out what this is. Like, how do you sit and talk to someone and heal them? Like, how do you do that? And then I was looking up schools, and it was another one of those things where I didn't know too much about the spirituality at Monmouth and Joanne, but it was one of those, like, I just kind of followed another hunch. You know, I feel like that's a big part of my life too, which then I later then did talk to a healer, and she explained to me that that's like a spiritual pull, you know, when you follow that like path, when you're in that flow. And I found Monmouth, and it was like, I quit that job at the nonprofit, and I was like, I'm going all in with this, and I don't know where I'm going with this, but I know who I want to help. I want to help women. I want to help young girls that went through things like I went through, which was like, you know, that kind of has sustained me, kept me going, and it still does now. And then, you know, and then I applied for a job as like a research assistant. And she called me up and saw, you know, so I got my degree in literature. And at some point too throughout that, I should have said before, but at some point too throughout that, I started to feel like that was a little more meaningless. No, not meaningless, but it wasn't fulfilled. It didn't feel like it was helping the world.
Not enough.
So I switched to gender studies, and I got a degree in gender studies afterward. And that was what she saw on my resume and called me up and was like, so I'm writing a book, and you're hired, and I'll meet you. I was like, okay.
She has a good resume.
And she's like, we'll start in the fall. And I said, okay. I hadn't even met her. But it just, again, it felt like it was like meant to be. Like she was like placed there, and I didn't even know about, you know, I had been a semester in, but I didn't know much yet about, I didn't know that she went to India. I didn't know she, you know what I mean, had this focus in the spirituality in purpose, you know, and I didn't even know, but I was like, oh wait, this was like, wow, you're right, this was what I was meant to be doing.
Beautiful. That kind of reassures that you really are where you meant to be. You really are there. You wanted to say something.
She went to one of the best colleges in the country too. For her undergrad.
You didn't want to mention
I didn't
that.
know. No, but yes.
She's a brilliant student. Brilliant student.
Yeah. So, coming to your work in feminism and the feminist theory and the book that you've authored, and you've written some parts in that too, contributed. What's the whole idea, and why are we talking feminism in this date, age and time? Why are we still stuck on this conversation?
That is the question, isn't it? I wish we weren't still stuck in this conversation, but we have never reached equality anywhere in the world. There's some countries that have been a little better than others, but we have not reached equality. And so this book is called Feminist Intersectional Therapy, Fourth Wave Clinical Applications. And what my co-editor and I did was we created 22 chapters. We did it because we like the number 22. But we created 22 chapters on how to do feminist theory in a modern way. So to take the sociological concepts of feminism, to take the existing psychological concepts of feminist theory, and to add what is most important now is this concept of intersectionality. So intersectionality is the idea that women among us are not equal, even women. So we can say, okay, women's rights.
True.
But women with different races are not equal. Women with different abilities are not equal. Women, different socioeconomics are not equal. So when we say all women, we're not talking about all women. And the feminist movement in the West has really historically been about white women. That's just been the truth, right? So in the 90s, maybe late 80s, the concept started beginning of intersectionality that said, wait a second, that when we look at feminist theory, we're really talking about white women, and that's not fair. That's not fair to our sisters of all other types of oppression. And so the therapy is, I think, a new sort of cutting edge way of doing therapy where we're looking at broken systems, not broken people. That the systems are breaking the people. You know, the economic system, all of the systems, the legal system isn't equal. The education system isn't equal. Any system isn't equal. They're built on hierarchies and of the powerful. The powerful people put in the culture norms. They put in the cultural norms. And so the things that we look at, you know, when we have we have a diagnostic manual that we use to diagnose people, right? So we diagnose people for anxiety, depression, personality disorders. Personality disorders, like what is that? That means that you were raised in a way that created dysfunction to your adulthood because you were so oppressed in different ways. You were deprived of things, or you were abused with things, and it allows you to then grow up in a normal reaction to an oppressive situation, and then we label you. And now you're the one who's sick. And so we take that. We in the book, my co-editor and I, we called it, I think, systems disorder rather than like personality disorder. The systems create these personality disorders, you know. So the idea that all of our social, cultural, political systems are what's sick, not the people. So that being said, when we do therapy with people, we have them recognize and accept or reject. It's completely up to them how they want to do it. We just raise their consciousness so that they can understand that what they're doing is normal, even though it's not accepted in society
by everyone,
right? But so then they get to decide, do I want to assimilate to this broken system, or do I want to fight it? But it's their call in therapy as to what they want to do. But the idea that the oppression and the multiple oppression. So you have, like, so let's say an African American woman who's got a disability. Like, what are her odds of finding equality? You find equality in pay, finding equality in work, or being given opportunities. There's so many less opportunities. Even in the medical field, you know, there's studies that African American women, you know, they die from cancer more at a high rate. You know, I can have breast cancer, they can have breast cancer, they're going to die at a higher rate. They're not treated with the same respect and equality, right? And so that's what we're basing it on, is to, so we've come up with, throughout the book, 22 chapters of how to work with alcohol and drug problems. We created a new 12-step for feminist 12-step program. We have these are just alternatives. If the others work for people, terrific. But if it doesn't work for people, these are alternatives that they can do. How to do career counseling for women. There's careers that women never think of going into, and there's careers men never think of going into. Conversely, men are valued on how much money they make. Women are valued on their beauty. So when men don't, you know, the pressure to make so much money is also not fair. It's also oppressive. So this isn't really just for women. It's for anyone oppressed. So all the different types of identities that you have as a person that's oppressed. And so we look at that. We look at all of your identities. We look at where you're oppressed. And the goal at the end of the day in the book is power and empowerment. It is not to say, oh my goodness, I'm oppressed and there's nowhere for me to go. We can't stop there. That would be a mistake, and that would be doing damage, right?
Yeah.
So instead, we help the client move through, how do I navigate these systems? How do I navigate this oppression for my best empowerment, for my best life, for my dharma, so that's what the book is about.
Beautiful.
And so we go step by step: couples counseling, family counseling, children and adolescents counseling, spirituality and counseling. We have aging and counseling for men and women. We have sexuality and counseling. So each of the chapters. Then we have people of color, how they're how to navigate with that. All of the different chapters go to a model and techniques of how to help someone with a situation, and it's sort of cutting edge. There's nothing like it out there.
Phenomenal. It's interesting that you talk about it, and there is a lot of influence of the West and how you've seen things there. But coming to your work now, what you are doing with the education of the girl children and trying to empower them on this part of the continent, do you still see influences of systems, culture, tradition, the burdens of patterns, patriarchy, or other things that are influencing all the decision makings? And how then, after this, should we be breaking away from these systems? Or are we the system?
We are the system.
Yes.
We assimilate to the system to survive. As we grow up, we don't even know we're in it. We just adapt to survive, and we become part of the broken system. So that's the therapy, is being aware of that, becoming aware that I'm part of that now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is so cutting edge and so needed. It's the need of our time. Like thinking about my girls and my girls' education program and the kind of oppression they face. And it's, like you said, it's built into the system. It's built into their culture, and we do have to have that cultural awareness. Obviously, coming here as a foreigner, I couldn't make this America for them, and I couldn't even have that concept that we do it better in America. I don't have that idea. I want to see the human being before me. What is their struggle? What is their need? What is the obstacles they're facing, and where do they want to reach? So I want to see their end goal, and let's see what are all these obstacles that you're facing, and then address it, through that angle. So something like this is like, when are we getting it in India? That's what I want to know, because our girls, they face so much oppression, and right from birth, it's just not favored to have a daughter here. It's culturally, I don't know if it's always been there or it's a product of the colonization period and all of that, but having a daughter,
it's like a burden.
It's a burden. It's considered a financial burden. It's a burden. All of this. Sons are preferred. I see it with underprivileged girls. In the home, the sons are always favored. Send your sons to school. Teach your girls how to take care of a home and a family, because their worth is based on who are they going to marry. Whose daughter-in-law will they be one day? And it doesn't go above that. Of course, we have modern society and times are changing. So you see more educated families that are, let's put our daughters through school, college, everything. Let's make them doctors. So they have that. But, still in the underprivileged people, they're struggling to make ends meet. They're in survival mode. So we need more, we need to get our girls married off at a younger age. They'll be safer once they're with their husband, and they have that concept. But my girls, they want to study. They want to become something. They have dreams and they have hopes, and they also want to add to their family income, help their parents out, They want to support their families, which is such a new concept in India. It's always, put on the son. That's the burden of the son to take care of his parents. But daughters are like, no, we can do it too. So, so seeing my students, I mean, they're so inspirational.
Yeah, I remember the last episode you did mention that some of the older siblings, and especially if they are females, they still have to be the caregiver for the younger one while they're pursuing.
Yes,
their
a lot
own.
of our girls in our program, they only get time to study after all the chores of the day are done. They've cooked, they clean, all the siblings are put to bed, everybody's asleep, and then they study until 3-4 a.m. in the morning and then go to college the next day. So they have so much responsibility and so much burden that they carry.
And then what does that do to their mental, emotional health?
Well, so there's a context to it, right? Because the other girls that they're around also have a very similar situation. It has less impact on their trauma if it's normal, right? It would have more impact if it wasn't normal. If that was happening in the United States, that would be very traumatic. Here, if you assimilate to survive your way of life. It's not. What it does is two things. You internalize, right, your oppression. So sometimes you say, "Oh, it's my fault that I'm in this situation," or you say, "It's I didn't, I'm not listening to my mother by taking care, and so now I'm bad," right? So that's what we don't want to happen. That can cause you to say I'm bad. I think I'm bad within myself. I don't want that.
I see
right?
this actually, not to interrupt you, but I see this in my students who maybe have left their responsibilities and kind of disobeyed their parents in a little bit. Like, no, I can't do that because I need to study.
Right.
And they do walk around with that guilt. They have that guilty.
Right. It's an internalized, and that does damage as well, right? When I feel, their parents don't know better. There's no blame here. Everyone's doing the best they can. It's not a blame. But we need to give power. His Holiness Dalai Lama says that inner peace leads to outer peace, right? And so what the goal here for all of these children and these young girls is to find power in themselves. That's what the therapy does. That's what the book is about, finding the power to navigate the systems. It's going to be hard to not feel guilty when everyone around you is telling you
Correct.
or
emulating
is the way it
a
is.
certain behavior, and then you are not associating with it and saying, no, but that's not me, and then you're like, you're not that, then you're not part of the clan.
And
or
even
the
if
system.
you push through, you still feel guilty because am I really right? Am I sure I'm right? Am I a bad person? Am I doing? That's what we want to try to stop. Poverty and oppression, of course, doesn't lead to good things, right? Because you also, as children, especially girls in their teenage years, that's when you really form your identity. And as you form your identity, if I form my identity as a person of poverty, it's hard to get past that. Even like if I grow up rich and I form my identity as rich, I'm always going to be rich, even if I don't have money.
No,
I'm always going to be
true.
rich,
That's
right?
true.
And I'm going to act rich. I'm going to, even if I don't have money, I'm going to be rich. Same with poverty, right? So one of the things we need with these girls is to not let them form that identity, to let them form. Courtney we had a program about a week ago where we talked about possibilities, and we put a whole program together for the girls' education program about possibilities and making them believe that they have to think it. They have to think it first, right?
Yeah.
And if they believe that they have these dreams that can be realized, does everyone have dreams that can be realized?
No.
That's the problem, right? But you have to at least be able to think it before it's even possible.
Yeah.
And if I'm raised in a family where no one in my family has ever been able to make money, how do I get that possibility? And that's what Courtney's trying to offer to these students, showing them the way.
Yeah.
Because their family can't guide them. And it scares their families. Their families aren't at fault. It scares them to think that they're going to be hurt by these possibilities. That
because
they're
this
not
is very
gonna,
metaphoric.
yes,
very
because
impossible.
they don't know, and they don't want them hurt. And, there's love involved, right, with their families. So it scares them. And, they're trusting people like Courtney to say maybe they can. And that's a big leap. of faith that that she's been able to put in them to show them that maybe they can. And even the families, even, are, it's happening. It's happening. She has a lot of children, a lot of young girls that she's helping to educate. And that's
and some
the
of
step.
them have made it to medical programs, and they have,
accounting, banking,
and they're coming from which kind of families? They are.
These are like daughters of your auto drivers, very poor families, a lot of single parent households, extremely poor households. Yes, they struggle for they're like hand to mouth.
Or who would otherwise be doing what if they wouldn't have come here?
Married off. They'd be married by 16, 17, 18. I know, like, it's illegal in India, but it's still happening.
Yeah.
They're getting married very young.
Or if not that, then abuse or whatever.
They'd
then
be
they're
exploited,
Yeah.
abused, child labor. These are, and look at, they're becoming doctors, nurses, engineers, accountants. They're the future of this nation and this world.
One very interesting observation. Of course, we have 4 women in the room talking everything about feminism and therapy and mental health and socioeconomic structures. Would you agree or not that women can actually propel the growth of the women?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we're socialized not to. Okay, so this is one of the problems.
Yes.
Yes, if women stick together and helped each other, we would be in a much better place. We are socialized to be beautiful, to compete for men, all across the world, not just here. The world is socialized for us to make ourselves beautiful so that we can get the good men, the rich men, right? We're set up to compete with each other at young ages, on our appearance, on our everything. The type of bag we carry, the prestige that we bring. That's how we're set up. That's a competition between women. And so therefore, with that competition, as we become adults, we do not help each other. We have women in the family who try to hold each other down.
Yeah.
Within our own families, within our own friend groups sometimes even.
Yeah.
We try to hold each other down. See, men don't do that. They're not socialized to do that.
Yeah.
They're socialized to gather and make money together.
Money, yeah.
We're not. So that's part of one of the systems that's broken, is that women do not help women. We do not help each other as a collective group, and we need to. There's more and more in the West where, women's marches and women's things that are happening. But at the end of the day, we envy more.
Yeah.
We're socialized to. This isn't a biological thing.
Yeah.
We're taught to. Oh, they have a Gucci bag, or they have and I want a Gucci bag, where men don't do that at the same degree that women do that.
So women's self-worth is basically outsourced
Exactly.
Yes.
to...
And it's determined by patriarchy. Women's self-worth has been determined historically by the patriarchy. And so what we
how
have
much
to
jewelry
do,
she has, how much money she's loaded with,
the car she drives,
she drives.
all of it. And that's the patriarchy that we need to that's one of the systems that we need to stop to help each other. If women lifted each other up, we would be much more equal.
But that realization does set in at some point in the life cycle, and especially if I may say in your early 40s and all, when that midlife crisis happens, when that is really when you need a support of the same gender, because she knows what you're going through, because she's been through that. And all of a sudden you see the whole narrative and equation changing, women besties and, travel together and all of that. So has it actually got something to do with our biological clock as well? Like, is this...
So I think so Carl Jung, who's a famous psychologist, he talks about that you can't really even come into yourself until your 40s. So the first part of our life, we live in reaction to society, events. We live in reaction. We have a chance, and not everyone does it, but we have a chance in the second part of our life to begin in action, to take control of it, and we get the realization. But if we have to wait until 40, which is about, you're right in what you say, that's, a lot of our life that we gave away.
Gave away.
Right?
True.
And we're not helping each other all of those 40 years and by the time I'm 40, I'm stuck in a situation. I'm either stuck married, I'm stuck with a mortgage, I'm stuck with a career.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in a situation by the time I'm 40. I'm not stuck at Emily's age.
Yeah.
I'm still able to do things, but there I'm still living in reaction.
But I'm very interested to know, has it got anything to do with our hormones and the cycle? That we are just not able to look beyond. I mean, Emily would be one of the rare cases, maybe, at that starting that young too, or maybe now the wave is changing and the consciousness is raising. I don't know.
I
but-
think that's it. I think it's
that, yeah.
education, right? It's education. I mean, most of our populations don't get educated at this level where you can raise consciousness in an educational institution. That doesn't happen. Even in majors, if you're going to be an accountant, you're not raising consciousness, right? So the humanities are very important that we maintain, but those areas are not valued,
Yeah.
right? Those humanities majors and those humanities education is where we raise consciousness. English majors and art majors, but that's not valued because that doesn't make money, those majors, right? So, but those are so important to raising consciousness. And so I think it's education. I think when you say hormones, partly I think that there becomes more of a drive to have children and things like that. There's more of an organic drive at times, at periods of time in our life, right? And then in our 40s, that becomes less of a drive for children, right? So maybe that. But I also think that the patriarchy has sold the fact that we have hormones that make us emotional, that use it to make us weak. They say that we can't control our emotion and it makes us weak somehow. So we can't do good jobs because we're emotional. So they use our hormones as a way to hold us down too.
And while the world narrative on leadership is completely changing now.
Yes. Yes.
And where they're saying that the way the world is now has to actually go is that women take the lead forward. Otherwise, so much will be left behind. I mean,
that's the
that money can't
concept.
buy.
That's the concept, but I don't see it happening. That is the truth, that we're all thinking that. But women have to band together to make that happen. We had a woman run for president recently and she lost. You know? And so we haven't had in the United States history a woman president. Ever.
It's like one of the only countries, I think. One of the very
Right. So
India's had.
India's had, right? So what is
So that makes you look at eastward in that sense, does it?
Spirit, because what you just said was spiritual. Having a nurturing mother run the country is spiritual too. So that's the spirituality that India has.
Yeah.
That's the concepts that they have.
And that there is
beautiful.
an intelligence in that spirituality.
That's why I bring my students here every year, is to find that, to see that when we look at comfort and convenience, the United States is easier and more convenient. When we look at spiritual living, India's more is stronger, and that's why I bring my students to see that. I want them to see there's so many different ways to live.
More now than ever?
More now than ever. Well, I don't know if we ever. I mean, as modernization happens and money becomes more and more worshipped throughout the world, convenience becomes. In Buddhism, right? All life is suffering, and and not accepting suffering in parts of the world makes us. Our goal is to not suffer. Right? And as a goal to not suffer moves us from spirituality. So that's part of, so I don't know if it was ever good, but I think we're getting further and further in worshiping not suffering.
Yeah. I think it's also about if I may say, the redundancy. Like you can see the worthlessness after a point when you've had that Gucci, when you've had that Prada, and you've had the rest of the world to you. You, as a human, you do feel that, okay, that was it.
Yeah.
What's left?
What's
Yeah.
left? Like,
What's
what
next?
next?
But and again, I'm reaching for the stars here. But why do we have to do that?
Yeah.
Why do we have to know there's a Prada bag? And no offense to Prada or anyone else, okay? Or any
we
of
would
the
want
labels.
you to sponsor the show.
If Prada wants to sponsor, that'd be great, okay? But no offense
No
to
exclusion.
Yeah.
No.
But having been in marketing, my undergrad's in marketing,
Yeah.
and that's why I went
Yeah.
into business.
Retail,
Right? Having been in marketing, it's all smoke and mirrors. We
Yeah.
just build the product brand.
Yes.
It's not that
Yes.
it's better or worse.
Yes.
There's no better
Perception.
handbag
Yeah.
than another handbag. There's no better car than another car. It's all a matter of marketing. To the right. And so the marketing is what makes us think we need Prada, but it's a false god.
Yeah.
It's a false, meaning that we're chasing.
Totally.
We're chasing hierarchy, prestige, competition with each other. It's all nonsense, and all of that nonsense wastes a lot of time in our life.
Yeah.
It wastes our early years. It wastes a lot of time in our life, and so if we could avoid that completely, I mean, we can't today, right? But what we have to do in the therapy is to help people realize that and help them decide. I'm not their decider. They're their decider. I just help them realize what they're looking at here.
Yeah.
And then they say, hey, I want a Prada bag. And I say, fantastic. As long as you're consciously aware of what you're doing now, that's fantastic. But I just don't want you doing it without knowing you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's
so
all.
that makes me come to a very interesting anecdote. So thrice I've walked myself in like a Gucci showroom, not for myself, like I'm like coming from that thing that, okay, for my husband, let's buy you something. It's like, okay, so it seems like you're earning. I said, yeah, I'm earning. Let's just buy you something. And then there is a show of things that happen, oh this, oh that. And I just could not put my brain around that why should I be paying $50,000 for a visiting card holder, which is just this much. I just could not. It's my hard-earned money. Like, so somebody recently told me that luxury is for the ones who can waste it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, how perceptually they have sort of played with our minds.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's the systems we're talking about that are broken. That's the broken systems that they have the powerful, the hierarchy, they have convinced us that we need these things to be happy. And they make us sad.
Multiple levels also. So you talk about, we can talk about Gucci because maybe it's a little bit beyond our level of like reaching that. Maybe we can buy one, but we don't really feel comfortable. But I can talk about my students. For them, it might be like a new pair of jeans that costs $20. For them, that's like, they strive. I would love to have those jeans. Or I'd love to go to a Haldiram's and have lunch with my friends. They don't get to do that. For us, we don't think about it. Let's go to Haldiram's, meet up for whatever. But for them, like, maybe they're like putting that on a pedestal and thinking that we have to click photos there and we have to show off that we can do this. You know, and I want my students also to see, like, there's only so much value in that as much as you're putting into it, as much as your thinking is in that, you know. So it can be like multiple
100%.
levels.
So there is a level of happiness that we reach, that we have to when students, in your case, they're forming an identity, they're forming it in this social construct. The social construct is still around them. So for them, can they make this system work? Can they be successful in the system? That pair of jeans might represent, yes, success. They can be success. So then it's meaningful. But if we're buying things that have no meaning to them, and we're buying things that have it's just prestige for my ego, that's different. But anything that has meaning to it, then it's a different.
Like you said, if you're sure that you're wanting to buy Prada, then please go for it. Yeah,
exactly. And to create some meaning, likewise, I took my daughter for high school graduation. I took her to Paris. We're French, and she always, since a baby, she wanted to go to Paris. And so for her high school graduation, I took her to Paris, and we went through all the stores and stuff, and she wanted a bag, and it was $2,000. And this is a form of child abuse that I'm about to tell you about, okay? And I said to her, and she said, Mom, I really want this bag. This is the most beautiful bag I've ever seen in my life. And I said, yeah. And I said, how many kids at One Life to Love can we feed? Where we feed with that bag? And she's like, you ruin everything. And then she didn't want it. I took it away. So it's a form of child abuse, but I still did it because I wasn't paying $2,000.
No, I do that as a parent all the time. Trust me, even for that chicken burger, McMuffin, I'm like, listen, you really watch it out, huh? What it's going to give you is only fat.
So I did that instead of saying no.
You need to neutralize.
Well,
you need to
that's
neutralize
a great way
their
to say,
perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's truth. I mean, could I have? Yes, I could have, but why?
Yeah,
Why?
Yeah.
What would be it would make me sad to buy that, to be honest with you, at this point.
I hope that doesn't lead to any serious mental health issues.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. There are studies. There's studies. There are studies of children of therapists, and it's not good.
And not even just money. What can we be doing with our time?
Our time.
You know, this social media craze is there, and I think everyone feels the pressure of like showing off whatever it is. You know,
Exactly.
spending so much time uploading and clicking, and it's all about getting the right shot, putting out the right image. Are we spending so much time thinking about what is our image? It's going back to what you were talking about.
Yes.
Like, how much time are we putting into that?
Yeah.
Where we could be actually thinking of someone else that might need our help and attention, becoming a safe person for someone else. How do we better ourselves? Meditation, you know, learning, lifelong learning. So yeah, spending money, spending time. How are we spending our life?
100% right. You know, we think about what I think most people are doing is the meaning of life is to make myself happy.
Yes.
I think that's what most people are doing. And I think that's makes me so sad. Like when I meet people that they're so consumed in their own happiness, that makes me sad for them, you know. And I don't know. And so, you know, everyone's at different places, right? And so I want them to be, you know, they are where they are. And everyone is in different levels of their life, evolution of their life, right?
Call it like evolution.
Yes. And so, okay. But for my goal with my students who find me and come to me, and my goal is to just make them realize that.
Yeah.
And then they do what they want.
Yeah.
As many just stay in their own happiness. You know,
And
that's
you know,
okay.
but it's a tricky one. Actually, when you get to that stage, Emily, I'm warning you. When you get to that stage, there's no return.
I know.
Yeah.
There's
I know
really
that
no
it's a
return.
little. I
I
know.
know, and it happened to me, and it is isolating at this age. It can be, you know, like we were talking about before. It's like it's different ways of thinking, and I think there's people who are struggling with it, people who are there, people who are not there, and will never get there. And then, you know what I mean? And that's why it can be so isolating to think about things like this and not, you know where to put it, know where to go, or finding that purpose. Once you come to that conclusion, then it's like, well, now what's next?
Yeah.
We talk about in the book too, in feminist theory, once you have the revelation, you can't go back. You can't unlearn it. You can't forget.
You can't sleep again.
Yes.
Like
So you either have to just move forward or sit there. And if you sit there, you're going to be anxious. You're going to be incongruent.
Yeah.
So you have to move forward with it. Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, one thing that the idea of feminists is big on advocating, right? Advocating for those who don't have the voice, those who don't have the evolution, is for us. It's incumbent upon us to help people. You know, I'm not enlightened, you know, and I'm pretty sure I won't be in this lifetime, but to continue to have, you know, the evolution and to teach people who might be less evolved or less conscious, you know, to teach them and give them the tools to raise their consciousness. That's what I think a big part of our job is. And that's what the students that learn from me, you know, they learn and they can do it or not.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Trust me, while you look at eastward in so many ways, Joanne, I think I've yet to find not so many people who are already at a level of consciousness where you are. So calling yourself not being enlightened won't be a fair thing to do. I think enlightenment is just that process in which we are constantly there and that pursuit. And so long as we each of us have that, internal hustle that I want to make it like breakthrough, there's still something up there. We are on our way, leveling it up layer by layer. So if you would like to invite someone who is an unstoppable human or would just want to have a conversation with me, write to me at unboundwithmamta@gmail.com. That is unboundwithmamtaa@gmail.com. You can also follow my Instagram @Mamtaa Podcaster. That is MAMTAA Podcaster. Coming to the little bit of a fun side of the show, I think we've really immersed ourselves very deeply into the very heavy side of the conversation. Certain things that totally make you unbound, like you walk into it as if with some other frame of mind, and you come out totally with a fresh, renewed perspective. Any unbounding zone, experience, or way for life that you have created for yourself?
So I think that the class that I've designed is called transformational travel. So this word of transformation, right? To be able to transform from one to another. I think that reading, I'm a reader. And I read Krishnamurti, who is, what is there to say? Brilliant, and that helps me, I think, ground
Each time.
And I have the books over and over again and marked certain parts of it that I also so that helps me a lot. I read a lot of people, but that I would say is one of the main gurus for me.
What about you, Emily?
For me, I think a lot of going to the ocean, going to the beach. We're in New Jersey, we're right at the ocean, and that is one of the best things, I think, techniques to sit in the sand and looking at the horizon, and it makes you feel small, but it makes you feel big at the same time. Here's all of this out there. It's going to exist with or without you, and you can either go to it or you can stay here, and it's going to be there. And
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Courtney, your turn.
I had something I was going to, but when you said the ocean, I was like, that actually
that's
really
like the
does
New
have
Jersey
an impact.
connection.
But definitely I walk into my One Life to Love home, and kids greet me. No matter what I'm going through, whatever is happening, it just all disappears. Like the pure joy and innocence that they share, it just erases all the burdens, and I feel completely unbound.
Wow. One of your favorite authors you've mentioned. How about yourself? Your favorite author?
Favorite author? As an English major, I like a lot of fiction. I could talk about this forever. I love a lot of fiction. I love talk about consciousness stories, and I love Toni Morrison. And I love Alice Walker. I love fiction with the purpose. Like stories that are, what I mean. They were written more.
They have like an underplay of spirituality, healing. Some undertone is perfect.
I'd love some recommendations from you. We'll talk about it later.
How about yourself, Courtney?
Well, recently I've been reading Brene Brown, and she's not really. She's an author, she's a speaker, she's a therapist. So I think just Dare to Lead. It's like all about breaking through and being brave. So I think Brene Brown these days have just been on a kick. So.
Being a feminist, your take on the other gender, just in one word.
Equal.
Yes.
Can I only do one word?
We will freeze the flame on this.
Yes.
Equal.
How about yourself?
Oh my gosh, that's hard. Equal is a good one. I want to say, equal. I want to say, Equality, equanimity.
You're an English graduate, can't be doing this. Running out of words.
No, I think equal. I think opportunity. I think there's there's opportunity there for that equality, and I think there is the potential to meet in that way.
Specific reflecting on your life and the play that you have at hand, like you got to say the right word.
So I would say Shiv Shakti.
Oh.
So it's like the perfect balance.
Balance of the
And I
forces,
think
yeah.
if we really embrace our role as, whatever gender or like feminine and masculine, it's that Shiv Shakti is the perfect balance. So we can change this world for the better together.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Any favorite show or Netflix binge which is on your list, or you've just done it? Do you watch Netflix or
Netflix.
OTT?
Yeah.
She looked at me like
Yeah.
as if I'm
Oh,
asking
no.
what kind of a question have I asked?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
no. Oh, what's a good one? I'm a big documentary person.
Yeah.
I like a lot of documentaries. There are great documentaries on Netflix about, you know what I mean, about
One of your favorites?
think-
Any recent ones? No, don't
favorites that
remember.
stand out. Wait, give me a sec. Come back to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't wanna listen. I'm like, oh.
Let's go on
like,
with
yeah.
So I don't know favorites,
Yeah.
but I watched Handmaid's Tale with Atwood, and it changed my DNA.
Wow.
It was such a powerful show. About just divisiveness and righteousness, and it's a very fearful prediction, and it changed my DNA. So that I was glued to it in a Xanax sort of way. I needed
Like until you
the
finished
anxiety
it.
was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
anxiety is so that was something I watched more recently. But then, for my joy, I watch mindless television. Like,
Yes.
so when I come home, sometimes my mind just needs to come down.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
watch silly
Yeah.
things like,
That's
right. 90 Day
like
Fiancé.
90 Day Fiance.
We want to meet Sumit and
Jenny.
Jenny.
I've been, every time I
About it
come,
the whole
yes.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Every time I come here, I'm like, "Where's Jenny?" And Submit, so so that's a silly thing. I really do watch
Yeah.
because it
That kind
doesn't.
of validates you as a human. Yeah. Come on.
Yes, yeah. Well,
That's
it's
true,
true, and it also like lets you just
Yeah.
your mind just flow
Yes.
and be So
Yes.
I like that. You have to not. You can't think.
So we keep
Yes.
thinking about the capacity of the human mind to soak and absorb, and then there comes a point where it just wants to drop it all.
Yes,
It's like, please,
yes.
empty me.
You need to
Yeah.
calm it
You
down.
know?
You need to calm it
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
Empty me.
I tell my students all the time with spirituality, you have to keep one foot on the ground. So you
Yes.
can't go up into this
Yes.
world. I mean, I can go there easy, up into this
Yes.
world
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
of spirituality. But if we're not living here
Yeah.
and serving and doing something with it, there's no
Yeah.
point in it.
Yeah.
So we have to keep one foot on the ground, even though we're,
So
in
true.
these other
Yeah.
places. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah, I have something to talk to you on this after the show.
Okay.
I'll definitely come back to that conversation. How about yourself?
Yeah, same. Mindless television is like my thing. So, but Netflix recently had a movie, and I want to get the title right. I think it's 12th Fail.
Yeah.
12th Fail.
Yeah,
it is,
12
right?
fail.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it really kind of highlights the pressure that
Yeah.
is put on students in India, and I encouraged all my students, to watch it. We even screened it in my program, and I think it's so important for them to understand, like, there are so many other options. You don't have to put yourself in a box. And I think that it's like a, socially aware movie. I love socially, like, current events, like movies that really highlight the current issues that we're facing as a society. So
Yeah.
that was a good one.
Beautiful. What about your favorite cuisine? One, you never give us the answer for the last one, right?
For my favorite. Yeah, for my favorite show. No, yeah, I've been like, I like the documentaries, but I also need to turn off turn off your brain. I've been watching a lot of British Bake Off.
Okay.
That's
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Very happy,
To turn it off.
Yeah.
and,
One bit on your favorite cuisine, food, whatever that you like to eat anytime, go to comfort food, whatever
Go
it
to
could be.
comfort food. Yeah, I like Indian food. I like even Indian food in America and Indian food here too. That was always something that like made me also very excited to come to India and see the
Wow.
differences.
Oh, wow.
And you can't get good naan in America.
Good
Good
Yeah.
naan.
It's the simplest thing, and you can't. Yeah, it's not the same as it is here.
We'll
the way
teach
they
you how
make
to make
naan.
that.
Yeah, I'll do it at home, please, because if that's the one thing you go home
I'll
and you
send
can't
you some
get.
easy recipe. Huh?
Okay,
Share.
yeah.
Okay,
I'll
good.
do
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah. How about yourself?
Black dal.
Okay.
Okay, I
That's the
didn't know.
comfort food. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See?
yeah.
You've known her for 10 years.
I'm learning now. I know what to cook for her.
Now you know what it is to Unbound.
Favorite food? Yeah, I love Mamtaa sandwiches that she makes.
Yes, yes,
very
yes,
good cook.
yes.
Yeah.
We just had them, so I'm like, oh,
Not
those are
Yeah,
promoting
they were
that.
good.
Yeah.
No, they were good.
You start getting orders.
side business.
Side
Yeah.
business. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But last time I remember you said dal chawal.
Yeah, I'm like a very, dal, chawal, raita. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thing.
It remains staple.
That's
Same.
my jam, yeah.
Perfect. I think we'd been having a great unbounding session, but it cannot be complete without my rapid fire. Although I had just given you a bit of a taster on
wasn't it.
that.
Now I'm
Okay,
nervous.
But just,
Okay.
I mean, this was still like a precursor to that. But yeah, I mean, just shooting off volley of questions, one word answer, no overthinking needed. What is your life purpose?
Serve. To serve.
Yeah, service, helping.
Service.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Never have you ever. Just complete the sentence.
I was gonna say bungee jump.
Okay.
Never.
Skydiving.
That was close.
Lived completely without fear.
One thing which is a must do in the morning for you, like the first thing in the morning.
Write down my dreams. That's
Write
a
down
better
your
answer.
dreams.
Yeah, I do that too.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I wake my daughter up.
Okay. Even now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I love to open my curtains and just see the sunrise. Like
Sunrise.
something about it.
Yeah.
Sunrise, seeing the
Yeah.
sunrise.
Yeah. One thing which is like a bedtime ritual for you.
Read, even if it's 3 pages. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Meditate.
Begging my kids to just go to bed.
I know
They're
that
still very little.
that I
yeah.
totally relate to it. And in the pursuit, just snoozing off yourself.
Exactly.
All right. If not for this work, what was on the block for you?
I said it in the last show. Stay-at-home mom.
Stay-at-home mom.
Stay-at-home
Let's hear a
mom.
different version this time.
If not for this, I don't know. I would have still been working in fashion in
Yeah.
US, and so
Yeah.
I would be a carpenter. I love to build things. I do it as a hobby. I like to
Oh.
build like small pieces of furniture, and we
Oh.
had a Halloween parade where costumes and
Yeah.
stuff. And when my daughter was young, I built a float every year.
Oh.
It's just I like creating things. I like building things, making things, and creating. So maybe a carpenter or something where I could make things.
Yeah, you're still carpentering everybody's dream and personalities and characters in a very, very big way. How about yourself?
Publishing something with
Yeah.
writing books, working with books.
Yeah, or like an
in that
editor
way.
or
Yes, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. One thing that you would just want to say for the family, like what is family to you?
family is a place of comfort and safety and belonging.
Family is who I choose to put around me that I love and can rely on.
Yeah, I think family is who feels like home and who lets you wander and come back when you need to. Friends and everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, so it could be any set of
Yeah.
people or
People,
place
yeah.
or whatever.
That lets you explore and brings you back to who you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. One thing on the parting note for the women of today, for the girls of today, what is that? Because we're going to be running this series during Women's Day around that time. Any sort of a message or some conversation that you've always wanted to have?
Yes, well, I think the first thing that came to mind was the mantra that Joanne taught to my students during our mental health awareness campaign, which is I am strong, I am powerful, and I can create my own possibilities.
Wow.
Yes.
We all can say it together.
Yeah.
I am strong,
I am powerful, and I can create my own possibilities.
and I can create my own possibilities. Wow. So since you've said hers, what will you say now?
I think for women and young girls that the main thing is to not blame themselves for the situations they're in, and to be able to find power and peace within themselves. And I think that's what will allow us to create the possibilities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think to do it scared anyway, because I see so many women and girls and all people my age and younger who have the drive and they want to do it and you don't know how, or you're scared of what's going to happen if it does it, and just to do it anyway. Do
Yeah.
it scared.
Love
Even if
that.
you're scared, you can still do it.
Yeah.
The outcome will be the same. It'll be good.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I love it. Outcome
Yeah.
will be the same.
Yeah, right? You've done it. You've
Yeah.
done it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Totally. And I think that's
Yeah.
about it. We are at the end
awesome.
leg of the show. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
completely bearing your truth,
I know,
your
I
soul,
know.
your life, your purpose, and totally coming unbounded on the show. I hope you had a good experience.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. And for all the episodes, you can come back to Unbound with Mamtaa, now available on 20 plus audio streaming platforms: Spotify, Amazon, Ghana, iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you get your audio.